Hello there. I wanted to do another free Goya mentorship Anil Now lesson today around pattern interrupt. Now, that's an interesting topic. It's not something you hear a lot of people use in their day-to-day vocabulary or language. What is a pattern interrupt? Well, a pattern interrupt is think about the rocket ship going to space. Okay. The rocket ship that blasts off into the space, let's just say towards the moon or Mars or towards a satellite or whatever, it has a trajectory. It has a flight path, we call it. And it's important that that rocket ship stays on that flight path. Now, the folks at NASA and also the pilot of the ship, sometimes they need to make adjustments or modifications on the flight path if the rocket ship should go off course. And sometimes it's just little tiny adjustments. It's the same thing they do when re-entering the atmosphere to land on Earth after the mission. So whether they're going to space or whether they're re-entering the atmosphere to land on Earth, they're always checking their trajectory. They're always checking their flight pattern because lives are dependent on it. It can be disastrous. There's sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars involved, sometimes billions. So companies like NASA or organizations like NASA or any other big organization, they're always very, very, very sensitive to pattern interruptions. And so our lives and our businesses should not be any different. We should always be checking in. How is our trajectory? Are we making modifications? Are we making adjustments? Are we being stubborn? Are we being hard-headed? Are we being arrogant? Are we sticking to the flight pattern, even though the flight pattern is going to be disastrous? And so today I wanted to talk about that because in my conversations with people in the last while, they've been asking me, Anil, are you really done in network marketing and MLM? And well, the answer again is yes and no, because what I'm currently involved with, I'm applying my network marketing and multi-level marketing and affiliate marketing experience with this, and it's gotten explosive. So the answer to that is no, I haven't really left network marketing and MLM. However, here's the difference. I'm building something for myself. What I'm building right now, I own. I'm contractually bound to all my customers as I help them with their properties to generate short-term rental income through a state house. So I own my customers. And I'm part of a team. We are all accountable. However, I'm a part owner, so I'm a decision maker, which is really cool. Most of the opportunities I were in, I was not a decision maker, or my opinion or words didn't matter, and so my life and my future and my business was dependent on someone making smart decisions. And unfortunately, human beings were flawed and imperfect and make mistakes. So most of the times, the company owners I dealt with never really had my back or interest. They had theirs. And that's okay. It's their company. They can do whatever they want with it. So I had to work on pattern interruptions. So remember, any lesson I do with Goya, it's something I'm applying in my own life. I do not ask anyone to do anything or recommend anything to do that I'm not doing 1,000% in my life, because that would be a hypocrite. A hypocrite is someone who gives advice and shares about what someone should be doing, but when people look in, their life is a total mess and turmoil. So I think like an Olympic athlete or pro athlete, what are they known for? Well, the reason why they're worth so much and a lot of clubs and organizations want them on their team is because they have very, very good coaches and mentors. And coaches and mentors can help you interrupt patterns because they are on the outside looking in. They're non-emotional. They're very successful in their own right. They understand how certain fundamentals and things work, and they are also pattern interrupters in their life. That's why people like Michael Phelps or Venus and Serena Williams or Tiger Woods or Michael Jordan, or whoever you consider a great athlete, Tom Brady, you name them, Wayne Gretzky, they had very successful coaches and mentors. And they were also, here's another thing, they were always students of the game and very humble, very humble. Their coaches or mentors said they did something, they went and did it immediately without hesitation. And so that's a healthy habit of a coachable, teachable person. So I always look in on my life to ask myself, Anil, what patterns are you interrupting? Especially around health, finances, relationships, spirituality. Am I still stuck in the old ways of doing things? Am I still caught up in what I think I know, what I believe I know? Because remember, going back to the rocket ship going into space, the pilot is in the ship and he's relying on the people on the ground in Houston, NASA, to direct that ship properly and then eventually hand it over to him once it goes into the stratosphere and out into space. Um, so his life is in the hands of the people at NASA. So we have to be very, very careful who we listen to, who we put our faith in, our trust in, and literally who we put our lives in their hands. We have to be very, very careful. And I see it all the time. People putting their faith and trust into people who really should not be directing them in any shape or form in their life or business. And sometimes we do it because they're nice, or they're friendly, or they're available, or they're offering a free service, or they're accessible, or maybe they've helped a few people. I don't do that. I only deal with people who are way more successful than me, and they've proven themselves over and over and over. And there's a lot of testimonials. Here's another thing I do. I don't go to people about my money pattern interruptions who are broke and struggling. I don't talk to people about my health who I notice are unhealthy and overweight and don't take care of themselves. I don't talk to people who don't have a strong sense of spirituality or in tune with the universe and creation and God and source and who are into self-improvement. And I don't talk to people who have terrible relationships and they don't value their relationships and they don't value themselves. I don't. So I have the people in my life, and I can count them on one hand, who are experts and they have a consistent pattern of living a healthy lifestyle in those categories. And sometimes I may run into someone who's got all those things together, and that's a blessing. Those people I find are very, very hard to find. It's either someone's an expert in one or two, sometimes three, but very rare do I find someone who's got their finances, health, spirituality, and relationships together. Very, very rare. Very, very rare. So I'm very careful about whom I have my conversations with. Because here's why. In order to interrupt our trajectory or pattern, we need to make drastic measures, or we need to take drastic steps and altercations. Sometimes it's life or death. It's life or death, or we can continue in that pattern and trajectory and hope for the best. Well, that doesn't work. That usually amounts to disaster. So I'm about the hard stop. I'm about jamming on the brakes and going, wait a second, why am I taking so long to figure this out? Why am I taking so long to generate results? Why am I not where I'm supposed to be? And years have gone by. And that was the conversation I had with myself with these companies I was with. I'm great at what I do. I have experience, training. I know what I'm doing. I'm very good at communication. I understand human behavior. I understand how numbers work. I understand how business work. I know how to interact with people. Why am I struggling in some of these opportunities? And so I had to put a hard stop and realize sometimes it's the person I'm working with. Sometimes the op seems great, but it's not that great. Sometimes I need to work on myself because there are certain things I need to learn and skill sets I need to take on first. Sometimes the timing is not good. Sometimes the industry is not the right industry. So those are conversations I keep having with myself rather than getting into blaming and complaining and bitching and whining and just being closed off and reserved and resigned. I put a hard stop and I go, wait, I need to check my trajectory. I need to check what's going on. Do I need to interrupt any pattern? And then I do another exercise that I'm going to share with all of you really, really soon. This is something I do all the time. I go and stand in front of the mirror and I have a conversation with myself. I actually do. You might think I'm cuckoo, but that's okay because most of the times it's this. It's never this. It's never external. It's never the world. It's never people. It's never the universe. It's never God, source, the creation. It's never. It's always this. Sometimes the reason why the rocket ship doesn't get to its destination is because it's faulty. They may have to turn around and come back and make adjustments or replace a part or add something or recalibrate. And sometimes they can recalibrate on the way, which is cool. Because remember, there's a lot of things they have to deal with, the rotation of the earth, temperature, winds, the sun, gravity, both the gravity of the earth and the gravity of the moon. So there's a lot of calculations that go into a rocket going into space. That's why they have geniuses at NASA who are mathematical and engineering geniuses. And plus, the people in the rocket that are going to space have to go through strenuous training months and years before they're even sent into space, right? Because the human brain can only handle so much. And you're talking about high speeds, pressure, gravity, isolation, mind games. I mean, there's a lot going on, even physical. They have to be in physical shape. So if NASA puts all that work into an individual to go into space, shouldn't we do the same thing with ourselves, with any project we're working on? And so I like to stand in front of the mirror and do that exercise. And I'm going to share with you the conversation I have, okay? Now, this is a quote I learned about years ago from a mentor. And the mentor actually was someone I had a lot of respect for, and they actually taught me this really invaluable lesson. And this lesson is always front and center with me whenever I'm doing anything. So let me share with you here. Let me see if I can get my screen out of the way so you can see this, or maybe, hang on, let me reduce my screen so I'm not blocking anything. Okay, so it says here, do not merely listen to the word. So the word can be advice or counsel or mentorship. And so deceive yourselves, do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like a man or woman who looks at his face or her face in a mirror, and after looking at himself or herself, goes away and immediately forgets what he or she looks like. Now, this is interesting. Have you ever stood in front of the mirror, to check yourself, check your hair, check your makeup, check how you look, but you're not really paying attention to yourself. You're only looking at the physical aspects, and you're not really doing true introspection about the person. And then you rush off to a meeting, you rush off to a Zoom, you rush off to a relationship, you rush off to something, and then things don't go well. And you're thinking to yourself, well, I took time and got ready and I look incredible and I dressed well. Why didn't this meeting go well? Well, because you're missing a very important component. It's not just about the physical. It's about you as a person, who you are. Because remember, when you go to a meeting or you go to a Zoom, let me just quit this. Give me a second. When you go to a meeting or to a Zoom or an interaction, a conference, a seminar, you're part of a board of directors, you're sitting in on a meeting. Here's something people forget. It's not but about how you look. It's about who you are. How you look is just a small little part. And a lot of people focus more on how they look. They spend a lot of time on their appearance more than who they are. And they forget that component. Unfortunately, we live in a world where it's very superficial. People focus on how they look, and they spend 80, 90% of their time looking good. And they spend 10% of their time working on the person in the mirror. And that's why sometimes what we're up to doesn't work. Look at the reason I shifted industries and I shifted platforms and I shifted a lot of things about myself is because when I looked in the mirror, how I was being and who I am and what I was doing was not working. And I had to be honest with myself. That trajectory was headed for disaster. And maybe it had already been disastrous and I wasn't paying attention. And I was fooling myself and lying to myself that everything was A-OK, NASA. Houston, we don't have a problem. And Houston is like looking in going, hey, dude, your rocket ship's about to explode. You're about to crash. You're about to burn. you're not getting to your destination. So it takes a tremendous amount of honesty. It takes a tremendous amount of introspection. It takes a tremendous amount of realism. And it takes a tremendous amount of introspection to really come to terms with that. One of the things I do is I also check in with the people I respect and look up to get their opinion. I'm always going, hey, can I have a call with you? Can I have a conversation with you? I need your honest opinion about myself. Not about the op, about me. And people who avoid those conversations rarely get ahead. They just spin their wheels. They think they're doing well, but they're not going anywhere. They're just fooling themselves. The person who picks up the phone or talks to someone they respect who's an expert in a certain field that they're wanting to master and really, 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 really is honest with themselves and real with themselves, that person moves forward. That's why when NASA sends a rocket ship into space, they make sure the captain is someone who's not egotistical, arrogant, closed off, resigned, thinks they know it all, not honest with themselves. They pick the best of the best, people that are coachable, workable, malleable, honest. I don't know what else you can say. They are genuine. They're authentic. They operate from integrity. They're aware of their faults and weaknesses. They listen to advice. They take advice and they apply it right away. Because remember, when a ship is going into space, there's seconds. You have seconds to make an adjustment. Seconds, not minutes, seconds. So my question to you, and this is what I always ask people, how quick do you do a turnaround? Does it take hours, days, months, years? Well, do you have time to waste? No. So you must master being able to turn around in minutes, not hours, not days, not weeks. Because when NASA tells the captain or the flight crew, hey, you need to make that adjustment right away because you're not heading to the moon, you're heading to Jupiter. They have to do that because they will overshoot the moon. And they don't have enough fuel to get to Jupiter, nor they may not have enough fuel to catapult around the moon and get pulled back to Earth. Because remember, they're fighting against the moon's gravity pulling them, and now they have to fight against Earth gravity re-entering the atmosphere. It's serious stuff. So when I look in on my life, I'm always checking my trajectory. Do I need to make adjustments? Do I need to make altercations? Do I need to turn the ship around? And so we should do the same. When we look in the mirror, are we being honest with ourselves? Do we talk to people who can get in our face about our lives? You know, I have people I can call and they'll give me some swift kicks in the ass and they'll also give me some hugs. Like they will tell me I'm doing okay. But I don't want the hugs. I want, tell me what I'm not doing effectively. Help me with my trajectory. I don't have time to waste. I don't want to take 3 years to figure out something I can figure out in an hour. So that takes awareness, humility, being open, coachable, malleable, workable, teachable, putting your ego aside, not being arrogant. Unfortunately, that's how the world's wired. The world is not wired like that. The world's about me, I. So you want to pay close attention to that. So today I wanted to talk about pattern interrupt, how very serious it is. Like look at the man or woman in the mirror and figure out how to make those tweaks and adjustments. Make those tweaks and adjustments and figure out how to get the help. Now I offer free mentorship to people who are open and ready to make those trajectory adjustments. So reach out to me. It's free of charge. I mean, my personal clients, I charge $300 an hour. And I've been paid up to 60,000 US for 1 hour of mentorship. So serious people pay me and hire me. However, most of my mentorship is free. And it's up to you now to take a hold of it and apply it. Because remember, whatever I'm talking about, I apply in my own life. So going back to that question, people ask, well, Anil, did you really leave an entire industry to jump into another one? The answer is yes and no. I did. However, I bought the good parts of me And the parts of me that needed to work on, I started to work on those things and receive and reach out and get the help necessary to make that work. So again, this is Anil with Anil Now Goya Mentorship. I hope the lesson today about the trajectory with our life and business really resonated with you, and about when you stand in front of the mirror or when you look at the mirror, to take honest inventory about yourself and not be in a hurry to rush off because you want to look good for a meeting, or you want to look good for a relationship, or you want to look good for whatever, but that's all you're working on, because that will never get you far, because those things fade. Looks fade, people get saggy, they get old, hair falls off. Look at me. I used to have jet black hair that was thick. Now it's silver. I'm still happy I have my full hair. I'm grateful to, my family for good genes. But things fade, looks fade. But the man or woman who works on themselves with their patterns and interrupt bad habits and how they do things and constantly keeps working on the trajectory, that person is going to prosper and do extremely well and have a lot of success and do wonderful, because they're not just working on the physical and how they look, they're working on interrupting harmful, detrimental, disastrous, painful, destructive patterns with themselves on a daily basis. So thank you for paying attention. Thank you for listening. Please share this with someone who you believe really needs to watch this video. And if they need to connect with me, please have them do that. So this is Anil. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. Be safe, be smart, watch who you spend your time with, because the people you spend your time with also dictates who you are. And those people, if they're not working on their pattern and interrupt their patterns, is going to rub off on you. And you're just going to become another version of them. So be very, very careful with that. So be safe, be smart, who you spend your time with. Have a wonderful day. And I look forward to having another lesson and sharing it with you in the days ahead. Love you, and I wish you all the best.